Hello there, my name is Solisha Francis, and I want to share something with you that I have noticed or that I think is becoming more like a menace, in a society, and it's about masturbation addiction, right? Over the course of my work as a therapist, I've had reasons to interact with people or profess help or services in terms of therapy, in terms of training around subjects of habit and addiction. And I think that it's important that I share my thought around this and not just share my thought but also help people as to how they can begin that process or that journey of dealing with this particular challenge, right? It's also important to state here that this the does not replace therapy, right, or coaching for you to actually overcome this. So let's dive into it without much ado. So first of all, you need to understand that masturbation is normal. It's normal in the sense that you might feel that urge to want to touch your vitals, right? And that's because as a human being, you're going to have those feelings and sometimes those sensations at the beginning because you can actually control yourself. And that's what we'll get to at the end of this conversation, right? You can actually control yourself. So it's something that you don't want to start, at all, right? Because it can become a problem, right? When it becomes compulsive, right? It begins to affect your productivity, begins to affect your relationships, it begins to affect your daily life. And that's the thing about every habit and addiction. It can alter certain parts of your life, maybe your social life, your relationship life, even your corporate or your work life. So it's important not to start up. But I'm stating this so that whoever it is who is listening to me or watching this, and you found yourself in that situation where you've been practicing this, you don't want to give up on yourself, and you don't want to assume that you're already cut off or you have done something very grievous. No, there is help for you, and you can actually get yourself back. So you're not alone, and it's possible for you to regain control. Now, the first step that we'll discuss is about triggers. You need to understand your triggers. Now, there is no habit that exists without a trigger. It all begins with a trigger. And the thing is, with every trigger comes a response. So the trigger is something that happens within your head that stimulates you to say, okay, you know what, go ahead and do this, right? And the moment you find yourself doing that, you're going to, if you don't take care, if you don't pay attention to it, you're going to find yourself doing it from time to time. Addiction does not just come up, it starts as a habit and then it becomes an addiction, something that you now find yourself doing regularly and consistently. Okay, but if you are able to handle the control part, then you realize that it's something that you can deal with. So you want to ask yourself, when do I feel this urge? When do I feel this urge to partake in this thing? Very critical question, right? You want to find out, is it when you're bored? Is it when you're stressed? Is it when you're lonely? Right? Because these three times are the things where, at the periods where people find themselves indulging in those activities when the mind is not occupied, when the mind is fallow and not actively working or doing anything. There's a huge chance that you're going to find yourself engaging in activities or actions that are unhealthy, right, to you. So you want to ask yourself, at what point do I actually engage in these things? You also want to check if there are websites or apps that you get involved in that affect you or that stimulate you or that trigger these things. Very important that you look at all of those as well. You want to check, are there websites that I go to that trigger me? Are there apps that I go to that trigger me? Are there environments that I go to that trigger me? So the essence of all of this is you need to be aware. That's the first step. You need to be aware of how you find yourself in those situations. You need to be aware of what really happens and then that leads to that particular action. Those are your triggers, the environments that you find yourself, the websites you visit, the apps that you engage with. Those are the things that you need to check. And then also you need to check your state of mind. Is it when you're bored that this happens, or is it when you're stressed, or is it when you're lonely? These two critical components are very important because what you have no knowledge of, you cannot deal with, you cannot give. So having knowledge of when this urge comes allows you greatly to know how to deal with them. The next step is replacing the habit. I like to tell people that look, you don't just throw any habit away, instead you replace it. you replace your response to the triggers. You may not be able to take the triggers away. Let me clarify that. Because if you have to work in an environment where you are being triggered, right, you may not have the opportunity of changing jobs, right? If you live in an environment where those things are encouraged, you may not have the opportunity, right? But you can change your response to the triggers by doing what you can participate in exercise or sport, right? You can begin to create a hobby, okay, something creative. You can journal, right, or even practice meditation. The idea is that you must do something that distracts you or that takes you away from that particular action or behavior. Very, very important, non-negotiable, right? Because at the end of the day, the idle mind is what these things prey on, right? If your mind is idle, your hands are idle, definitely something needs to happen, right? Your hands don't like to be idle. The mind is not designed to be idle. The mind is designed to constantly be working. So you don't want to leave your mind fallow. And so your response to the triggers is for you to get active, get busy, get doing something so that you have an active and a participating mind. Okay. You can even go ahead to volunteer to help other people. If you notice that at certain times of the day is when this thing happens, you could drop a schedule, which is what I do with a couple of my clients. Drop a schedule that when this thing is coming, you have various things that you can, because in replacing the habit, you also don't want to focus on one thing because that can also become a habit, right? So you want to have a couple of things that you can do such that whenever you feel the urge, you are able to move into those things. The step three is in your journey towards recovery, towards healing, you want to set realistic goals. It's very important, right? Don't set goals. For those of you who are familiar with SMART goals, yes, you want to set goals that are realistic. So you want to say that, okay, you will abstain for 3 days this week. You want to try to abstain for 3 days this week. Very realistic. 3 days out of 4 days, after 7 days of the week. Very realistic, right? And then you measure that progress. So you succeed in doing 3 days, maybe like twice. You can increase it to four, then increase it to five, and so on and so forth. Now, even if you sleep along the way, maybe you're not able to do the 3 days, you need just 2 days. Come on, pick yourself up again, right? Pick yourself up again and continue. Celebrate the small wins. I mean, you're doing this thing perhaps maybe every day before, and now you're reducing the number of days gradually. Celebrate that win, right? Don't beat yourself like, oh, I fell and stuff like that. No, celebrate it. It's very important, and track your progress. The step four is to reduce triggers. I said initially that you may not be able to change the triggers, but you can reduce them. The things that you have the power to control, you can control them. The things that you have the power to control, you can control them. So, what are some of the things that you can control? The websites that you visit, the apps that you use or that you go to, you can control these things. You can control going there. You could use website blockers, you could use app blockers, avoid idle time, avoid isolation, get busy, unfollow content on social media that trigger you, right? So these are things that you have control over. The ones that you don't have control over, you must build how to respond to them, and you must have various ways of responding so that you don't in the process of cutting off one habit build up another habit. I've heard people who say they can't sleep unless they masturbate, right? You want to replace that action. So when you want to sleep, your brain is telling you do this or you become restless. You want to look for something that you replace that with. And that way, gradually, you are reducing the impact, all right, of that particular action. And of course, step five, build support. Critical, very important. You need to build support. The truth of the matter is, you can't ride on this alone. You need the help of people, maybe your coaches or your therapist, or even a community group, right? So you need support, you need that social support because you don't have to do this alone. You also need accountability partners and check-ins. One of the things that I do when people reach out for addiction therapy is I let them know that look, you can reach out to me, right? I can hold you accountable you can always reach out to me because I do check-ins as well. Because it's not enough. So it's a journey where you've been struggling with something and now you want to get off it. You need support, right? So don't say you can do it all by yourself. I know there are various books out there, yes, right? But there's a difference between knowing something and having someone hold your hand, towards that journey of recovery. So it's important that you realize that you don't have to do it alone. And like I said earlier, be kind to yourself. Slip ups may happen, but don't give up. Okay, don't give up. Don't lose it. Don't say I'm not doing anymore. No, you can do it, and you have to do it. Okay, so don't give up and learn from the trigger. So for every time you fall, ask yourself what triggered me into this. How did I find myself in this again? That helps you to know. Okay, maybe I need to pay attention to this. As well. Also, your progress is more important than perfection. So measure your progress. Don't be in a hurry to perfect it. Okay, instead follow through your progress. It's a journey. You started gradually, you also have to live it gradually. You can't just do it at once. Guilt will happen, trust me. Guilt will happen. There are times that you feel guilty when you sleep, so it's fine, right? But don't let guilt occur. Instead, extend grace to yourself, be gracious to yourself. Remember, you're on a journey and it's not going to happen overnight. Um, I'm going to wrap up with step 7 by saying, know your why. Why do you want to stop this thing? When you don't know the why of something, the reason for something, it's going to be hard for you to say you want to. It's going to be hard for you to say you want to overcome it, right? So it's pretty important to understand your why and to know why you're doing what you're doing, because only then would you be able to focus and appreciate your journey. So you want to ask yourself, how would self-control help my dreams? How would self-control help me achieve what I want to achieve? What are the goals that I've set for myself? Do they matter? And what impact will these have on me? So you want to ask yourself all of those questions and prepare your minds for them, because at the end of the day, if you do not know why you're doing something, you can't give yourself completely to it. So my final thoughts for you are that you're stronger than your urges. Trust me, the strength you have within is stronger than the strength without. So in as much may seem like, oh no, this is stuff I can't do it. Hey, you can do it. You can actually do it. And every step forward counts, right? Every step forward counts. So don't undermine any progress that you make. No, don't undermine any progress that you make. Every step counts. Also remember that you're not trying to suppress anything. Instead, you're trying to transform yourself. Okay, you're trying to transform yourself. And finally, seek help. Seek help. Don't try to do it alone. Seek help. Stay consistent. Stay focused. Keep going. Even when you fall, pick yourself up and continue again. And that is it from my end today. And I hope that you find this worthy, and I hope that it helps you through that journey. Like I said, feel free to reach out if you need to talk to a professional. Till I come your way again, it's bye for now.